Copyright disclaimer. Under Section 107 of the Copyright Act of 1976, allowance is made for fair use for purposes such as criticism, comment, news reporting, teaching, scholarship, and research. Fair use is a use permitted by copyright statute that might otherwise be infringing. Now, I tried to find a nice way to speak to Andrew Holness, but I cannot find a nice way to speak to Andrew Holness. I have to call the shots as I see them. And I see you as a dirty chink, and daftly cousin, a thief, and a vagabond, as in disreputable, worthless, and shiftless. A thief as in stealing Andre Stevens' ideas, as well as those of the UIC, and implementing them without crediting these two organizations. You've not credited Andre Stevens for the content that you've stolen from him and are trying to implement, although not to the same degree that he is recommending. And you've also stolen the ideas of the UIC without giving them credit for their ideas that you are stealing and trying to implement, not to the same degree as they would like them implemented. And then your cousin Mark Golding, the daftly, who just sit back and let you do what you want. And you know, the other thing is, when people see Andre Stevens chanting and singing, they believe that he's this mad, crazy man. Let me tell you something. There's nothing mad or crazy about Andre Stevens. When Andre Stevens is chanting and singing, he's communicating directly with the Creator. And since the Creator already knows his heart's desires, he's just reminding the Creator of what is in his heart and reminding the Creator that he would like something done about it. Put a joyful song in your heart. Put a song in your heart when you're sad. Singing and chanting is a natural way to call out to the Creator to say, Creator, do what you will with this situation. So don't think that man is a crazy man. And don't think that what he's doing is nonsense. Make a joyful noise unto the Lord. When the, what happened to the wall? When the children went around the wall 7 times without a stop and made a shout, Jericho's wall came down. So, I'm going to rest that aspect of it right there for now. Jamaica's population is close to 3 million. And Andrew Holness is giving out 50,000 black drums to people who don't have water. That is not even spittle on a raging fire. You demolished people's houses, and then you went on camera and told people that you're going to help them to get their homes back. And yet you tried to build back one house in secrecy. What about the promises that you made to people to get them their homes back? And then we have the situation with JUTC. Some of them have not been compensated for over a year. And then when they were compensated, your government went into their paychecks and deducted more than 95% of the people's salary for the overpayment at one time. Over 95% of the people's salary for that month or that week at one time. The reasonable thing to have done if you've indeed overpaid these people would be to take a reasonable amount over a period of time. Even the Creator set a limit on people's finances. The Creator's limit is 10%. And that is what you should have taken from each pay over a period of time so that people could still pay their bills and feed their families. But like I said, you're a chink. You're a blood-sucking leech. How much is rent per month for a one-bedroom apartment? How much is a loaf of bread? How much is a pound of chicken back? You scrape off all the asham off of the bami. You pocket the bami and sprinkle a little asham all over the nation. Do you think that your little asham is going to make the Jamaican people forget how you have treated them over the history of your term in office? Pay your civil servants properly and pay them on time. Seriously, look into the plight of the Jamaican people and give them the bami and keep the asham for yourself. You're a blood-sucking chink. You want to fine teachers for staying home and protesting the fact that your government has habitually and routinely not paid them on time. Sometimes you don't pay them for months. How are they supposed to make it to school to teach children? And what they're coming to teach children in school is a corrupt history that you teach in Jamaican schools. Some of those teachers can't afford gas or bus fare if they buy food. And these are the people you want to fine if they stand up and demand their pay. The Creator is very serious about compensation for work performed. Extremely serious about compensation for work performed. All of those teachers should leave the public school system and become self-employed tutors and community educators. Jamaicans, instead of sending your children to public school and paying those enormous school fees, look into tutoring, homeschooling, and community schooling. Pool your money together and hire teachers from your community or from the communities surrounding your community. Rent out a church on a monthly lease and contract with those teachers to teach the higher grades in the mornings, and in the afternoon those older students from the morning classes can then teach the younger students. That way you don't have to pay a salary, because that is a profession they are learning as they study. They are studying and learning a profession at the same time. In the older student teaching The younger student, they are volunteering and they're building a resume for their future. Really and truly, you don't need a certified teacher to teach children from kindergarten to grade 3. There are a lot of unemployed nurses, teachers, etc. A lot of unemployed professionals in Jamaica. And they can market themselves by starting their own schools, volunteering to teach children in their communities, and in turn, the community pays them a salary. Since they are community-based, they don't have to worry about transportation or gas. They can walk to work. They can jog to work. The possibilities are endless when you start thinking outside of the box. Homeschool children, they get into universities easier than public school children because their lessons are more focused and they score higher on examinations, etc. And I know this for a fact. They don't learn garbage history about Christopher Columbus. He didn't discover anything at all. I'm just flipping pages here. And where is it? I am just flipping pages. Did I go out of order here? So, okay, we're moving on from that to something else that I've addressed before on this platform. That Canadian garbage that Jamaica so readily accepts, it as an enemy. It has a parasite that they have to constantly spray to get rid of. And what happens when they spray those plants? What happened to those plants? What kind of residue is left behind from that spray? And what happens when the eggs from those parasites starts to hatch and attack the Jamaica ganja plants? What is going to happen then? I'm just saying. Moving on to another topic. If you go back and look at my other videos, I've been telling you for over 2 years now that Babylon was imploding. And Babylon has indeed imploded. But they're not admitting it. And they are not saying anything about it in the mainstream media. Babylon has poisoned their own waterways with train wrecks and ships bumping into stationary objects. Babylon will do anything to save herself, including invading Haiti and destroying the Caribbean. They're trying to destabilize the Caribbean by asking other Caribbean nations to interfere in Haiti's domestic affairs. Haiti is a sovereign country. And I guess none of the Caribbean islands are biting. So they're now trying to get Canada to destabilize the Caribbean. But Canada has refused to provide live bodies to invade Haiti. And I've spoken it. Any person who sets foot on Haiti's soil against their freedom fighters and their revolutionaries will be deep sixed where they stand. The Creator has given us the power to speak things into existence. The tongue is the most powerful weapon that we possess. And some of us have spoken about Haiti. Now, moving on to Charles and his son, Wills. The rotten apple, should I say, the rotten apple stays at the root of the tree. The rotten apple stand at the foot of the tree, where it drops. Charles will not be crowned, and neither will his concubine. The world has seen his lapdog for what he is. Imagine you have 4 residences and your little brother has 1 frog infested property, which wasn't even a proper living space until it was given to and rented out and renovated, by your little brother. And you couldn't leave your little brother with this 1 property. You couldn't just be happy for him that he had a place to rest his head when he comes home. When your father got called out for being the bigot that he is, bigoted and vindictive, for evicting his youngest child, he threw you under the bus. Oh, well, Wills wanted another residence. He wanted a 5th residence. So, your heir apparent wanted a 5th residence, and you couldn't find in all of your kingdom, you couldn't find anywhere else to put him. You had to take away the 1 residence from your youngest child that his grandmother gave to him as a wedding present. Why did your rotten apple need another residence? So he can have a private place to bring his concubine? And I'm talking to your rotten apple now. Your father and his concubine will not be the head of any commonwealth, and neither will you or your concubine. Your so-called wife is holding on to her so-called position because she wants so badly to be queen. But there's no marriage there, and you and your concubine will not be head over anything. Melanated countries, it is time to disband the Commonwealth. There is no wealth in it for you. Hold on to your natural resources and create your own wealth. Now, moving on, or getting back to the chink. More overreaching of the government by destroying, demolishing the river rafts. How does that solve the problem? How does it solve anything? You need to deal with the criminal elements and leave the self-employed rafters alone. Do you know how famous river rafting is in Jamaica? You show me 1 tourist website that doesn't have river rafting on it. 1 Jamaican tourist website that doesn't have river rafting on it, and you chose to box food out of the mouth of Jamaican children, when you destroy these people's property, how are they supposed to feed their children? You don't like self-employment. I've done many videos about how you treat the self-employed in Jamaica. You damage their goods, you arrest them, you damage their hand carts, you damage their goods on the sidewalk, and now you're damaging their instruments of employment on the water. Like I said, Chink and your daftly cousin Mark Golding just cock up your foot when him there Jamaica and make you do whatever you want to do. How can the opposition oppose when half the time he's out of the country? And let me tell you something now. I'm on to another topic now. And the other topic is about the oppressive class. It seems as if everything that the melanated or black people come up with that is positive, they take it over, they control it, they manipulate it, and they overuse it. Most often, they're using it in the wrong context and turn it into something negative, like the word woke. The oppressor, they have turned that word into a bad, negative word. When black people or melanated people started using that word, it was a good word. It was a positive word. When we started using that word woke, it meant alert and aware. Now, the oppressors would have you believe that it is something horrible, something bad, and negative that shouldn't be used. What is bad about being alert and aware? Being alert to who you are, being aware of who you are, being aware of your ancestry, being aware of your history, and what a wonderful and positive history it is. Let us take back our word and use it in the way it was intended. Then there's the term deep six. We have used the term deep six in Jamaica for millennia. Recently, I've revived that term. And if you go back and look at some of my recent videos, you will hear me using the term deep six in some of my videos. And I've been using it in some of my comments on YouTube. Well, what do you know? Now it is being used all over the world on YouTube. It has even made its way into the mouths of other YouTubers and in headlines of articles on YouTube and other platforms. And it has even been made in reference to Babylon's collapsing fiat currency. And this is what happens when the oppressive people take over our words and overuse them. They appear everywhere. They're used incorrectly. And sometimes they don't even know what they're saying. Why can't you come up with your own stuff and leave our stuff alone? In one segment, I heard it used 3 times. Leave our words alone. In days gone by, people from the Caribbean decided that they want to put on a yearly event to celebrate Black people and to show the world how we celebrate and entertain and carry on. And the world was invited to watch. And that event, I have recited the copyright statement, and this word is being used for educational purposes. That event was called Caravana. And the hotels, everything in the city of Toronto made money off of Caravana, except Caravana. And when the oppressive class saw how successful Caravana was, they aimed to take it over. Why? Because us, melanated Black people, do not know how to get along with each other, do not know how to build a wall around ourselves and stick together and support each other and keep the enemy out. So we allowed other people to come into our kitchens and start our soup. And soon they took over Caravana. And they didn't have the sense to register the name and copyright it and charge people for using it. And so what happens? A member of the Ish class took the name Caravana, registered it, copyrighted it, and then told the Black community that if they want to use it, they have to pay him a fee. And that went on until they completely took over Caravana. They no longer came to watch. Pardon my phone. It never fails. I guess I better sit on it to shut it up. Okay. Sitting on it to shut it up. So, they went on and on and on and on, inserting themselves. They no longer wanted to come and watch. They wanted to be a part of it. And they wanted to put all sorts of things in it. All sorts of ungodly Sodom and Gomorrah thing that the Creator looks down on. All sorts of floats containing people who murdered us in cold blood. And then it became the Scotia Carnival. And then it became the Toronto Carnival. Everything good that melanated or Black people come up with, they insert themselves into it until they take it over. And when you tell them, no, you cannot come into our community, you cannot come into our organizations, they come up with trumped up charges against you, arrest you, break into your house and arrest you, and then lock you up because they don't want you to bring black people together. And if they can't be a part of your organization, they don't want that organization around. I give you Grandmaster J. John Johnson. That man is locked up. Why? Because he organized and educated melanated people about who they are and the power that they have. And they had to try to find a way to silence him. And so they came up with these trumped up charges and had him arrested and locked him up. John Johnson doesn't need to be locked up. Grandmaster J. And people say he's a spy. And he's this and he's that. But you know what? He is still our brother. And he brought people together. And he educated people about who and what they are. And in my book, if you're not out there committing a crime, you shouldn't be locked up. And in my opinion, he didn't commit any crime. When Martin Luther King said, "We're going to Washington to get our reparation," they murdered him. When Malcolm X said, "By any means necessary," they murdered him. And when Marcus Garvey said, "Hell, we're going to do for ourselves," they murdered him. I give you Patrick Lubamba. I give you Muammar Gaddafi. Whenever we try to do for self, they murder us, they lock us up, and they try to silence us. I say it is time for one for one. I guess that's another term they're going to take over and overuse and use it in the wrong way. One for one. It's time for one for one. Whenever they do anything bad to us, it's one for one time. And Your Wholeness, your time is up. Your time is up. You need to set the Jamaican people free. You need to stop oppressing the Jamaican people. Your time is up. You're doing overtime. Don't let those of us who have the power, who exercise the power to speak things into existence, speak you out of office. One way or another, you will come out of office, either voluntarily or disgracefully. You need to set the Creator's people free, and Jamaica is full of the Creator's chosen people. You remember that. And my people, pay very close attention to the words that Justin Trudeau and Andrew Holness uses. They have the same handler. I'm going to rest it there for tonight. I wish you shalom. Please do not forget to like, share, subscribe, and comment. Shalom. Hey.